Hi and welcome to this small short tutorial, and today we'll try to reproduce some effect that I've seen on the internet. And today it will be this effect of Sean Zelmer. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, I'm sorry if I'm mistaken. And I will put a link to his Instagram into the description. And thanks for letting me trying to reproduce your visual, by the way. So basically it looks like that, and we are going to try to reproduce this effect on Smode. So first thing we see is that we have an array of balls which are mapped with the checkerboard, and we have the checkerboard moving along the camera rotation with a slight difference. Here the checkerboard starting with white on the top of the sphere, and here starting with a black dot. So we are going to try to take all of this indication in account and try to reproduce this effect. So let's go back into Smode and create a new composition. So first I'm going to create 3 layers, a random point layer, which allow me to display a random point into 3D space. And then I will add with a right click an operator, which is the instantiate, and I will instantiate a sphere. Here it is. Okay. So now I will display my system not with sprite points. If I do a Ctrl Shift A, I can see here that I currently have a sprite point to display my balls, so to speak. And here you see that I'm displaying only points, but I want to display a surface to map a checkerboard over it. So I do a right click, surface renderer, and let's put into this surface renderer into the diffuse component. So I suppressed the sprite points and the specular map, and here replace the uniform by a checkerboard, which is here. Okay, now let's augment a little bit the size of the sphere. Okay, like that. Seems nice, but we have first to set the checkerboard, okay, like that. And then if I check the checkerboard here, I start one side with the black, one side with the white, which is what I'm trying to have, so that's nice by default. But how my balls are currently oriented on the wrong direction, so I will click on my instantiate here, which is the element that create the sphere, and I say that this the referential of its geometry I instantiate will not be the vertex of the random point generator, but will be either the world of the camera. We don't care that much. Maybe we prefer the world in this case, because I think that here the orientation of the sphere does not seem to change according to the movement of the camera. So let's leave that into world orientation. And now I will select the sphere here. Select the sphere. And by default, the sphere inside the instantiate modifier has no placement type. So I will change that by a position orientation size, just to have access to the rotation of my sphere. And okay, should be more or less like that. Okay, let's augment a little bit the radius of the sphere, diminish the points of the system on which I'm currently generating my sphere. Okay, a little bit more radius, more precision maybe on the side to have a nice round effect. Now let's do some animation on the checkerboard, but we want the checkerboard animation to take in account the orientation of the camera. So first, something that I did not do in the beginning, but that we should always do when we create 3D scene into Smode, is first to create a camera, because better to have the position of a camera inside the element tree than using the viewport camera. So now let's do a little animation, like from maybe 22 degree to -20, -50. So right click, back and forth loop, and we said -22, okay, 22, up to 0 turn, and minus it minus 50. Okay, should be alright. Maybe I will slow down a little bit. Okay, now let's add a little bit more strips to the sphere. So let's say like this. Let's see. Okay, I'm at 9%. It was at 10. Let's say 8%. Let's say. Shit. Oi. Okay. Yeah, 5% should be fine. Okay, now let's make insert that one start with a white, one start with a black. So to do that, I will create a little attribute modifier, which is the point rotate, and I want my point rotate to be before my instantiate to affect my sphere. If I put that after my sphere, it will have no effect on the instantiated sphere. So let's put a rotation of alpha turn. Okay. Now I have one that starts with black, one I start with white. How do I discriminate to have one or the other? What I will do is create a mask over this point rotate. And to create this mask, what I will use is not a random mask, because here I will have an interpolation between my entry value, which is no rotation at all, and my last value, which is rotation of alpha turn. And random will just say do a rotation, random rotation between these two values on all of my spheres. What I want to do is to have either no rotation or full rotation. So what I will use instead of a random is right-click mask, a function mask that I will set as here as random mask. So here we have exactly the same thing that we had before with the regular random mask, but now this random mask is driven by a function, so it's maybe a little bit hard to understand at first, this thing. But now what it's currently saying, this function is here. I have a random that goes from 0% of my effect to 100% of my effect, which is 0 degrees and 180 degrees rotation. And here along the line, I have some which one of my sphere which randomly goes to each part of this linear ramp. So what I can do is, instead of using the linear ramp, is using a square function. And now I will have randomly some of my sphere which will have a 0 degree rotation, and some of my sphere which will have alpha turn rotation. So will be displayed randomly, but more or less half of my whole bunch of sphere will be no rotation, the other half full rotation. Then I can change the seed of the random mask here if I want to change this order. And if I want to have more sphere rotated than non-rotated, I can change the phase of my function here. So maybe it's a little bit difficult to understand, but if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask into the link. Now what I want to do is to have this smooth animation while my camera is currently doing rotation. So I have many different options to achieve this, but what I will use right now is maybe just instead of animating my camera directly like that from this rotation, from this animation loop, I will create an expose parameter. But first I will create my animation. So put on the checkerboard here, right click, distort to the transform, and let's shift a little bit with a mirror repeat, and let's shift by let's say 20% maybe. Okay, and see, from 0 to 1 I have this kind of animation. Let's see what's going on here if I move this to the transform. Okay, let's check one other time if maybe would be better to put that at not 20 but 70, and the other just to move it in the other direction. So I have this double white here, and it seems more like what we have here with a large white dot. Why do I have a double white band here? Because I put my 2D transform as mirror repeat. So now I say that my 2D transform, if it's not applied, okay, let's check here. If it's not applied, my checkerboard is like that. If it's applied to 100% like that, and in between, if I modulate this intensity here, I have a translation. So what I will do is expose this parameter here. So expose as percentage parameter, and I will call that animation. And now inside this expose parameter, this animation expose parameter, here I have a function inside the function editor, the intensity of my 2D transform, so which currently create this animation here. And I will link the rotation of the y-axis of my camera here. All right, and let's say it starts to, like we said before, -25 to -50. Okay, -25. Shit, what am I doing? Okay. Okay, and let's check if, yeah, so animation is going onward and backward. Okay, and so that's what we have here now. When animation is going to one side, it's going in one direction, to the other side in the other direction. And now what I'm going to do is first, let's see why we have this little black stuff here. Let's see if we can fix that by using a rasterize modifier at some point. Okay, this should solve the problem. Rasterize is something that when you have this kind of strange behavior between one modifier and the other, sometimes rasterize is like the magic deus ex machina. So let's change the animation. So now I have this expose parameter which control two parameters. The orientation of my camera, which is defined here, and the intensity of my checkerboard effect. And so now what I will do is just create an back and forth loop on this one, back and forth loop, and reactivate my animation. So now here I have a very wrong thing, which is that I have the orientation of my camera, which are controlled both by this parameter and this loop here. So I should remain with only one master control. And now we more or less have it. Maybe it should necessitate a little trigger to be sure that when we start on the beginning of the animation, we have this full white, which seems to be the case, and which is currently 25%. Okay, so we have 25% at the end. And then we finished on a black spot, which should be like this one. But again, I think, yeah, I made my checkerboard move on the wrong direction here. So let's put that in 20 again, just to see if that's better. All right, and let's start with the full white. Where was it? Not here anymore. How could we do to solve this issue? Maybe we can start like that. Maybe we leave that in 70% as it was before, at 20%, and put another 2D transform in between, just to see if we can solve this issue here. Let's visualize this step. And put that in mirror repeat. Okay, I want this fucking double white bar, so 55. Okay, and now this one start with the white and with the black spot. Yeah, did it. So how did I do it? And let's duplicate the rasterize and put it in between the two 2D transform. Shit, these black bars are here again. Okay, seems to be fine like that. Rasterize, Deus Ex Machina. Just have to deactivate, reactivate, put them wherever the fuck, and should work at some point. So first I just shifted a little bit with my 2D transform and its mirror repeat just to get a map that is not only a checkerboard, but a checkerboard with a double white bar. So now the map I'm currently working on at this point is not anymore checkerboard, but so to say unbalanced checkerboard. And then I put my other 2D transform here that does the same animation as before, but start here with a double white and will end here with a black spot on the top. And so if we go back to the animation here, let's play. Okay, so we have it. And then from now on, you can try to figure out some other thing. Maybe let's put the 2D miniature to 100%, like that. Maybe let's add on the composition containing the 3D elements a little anti-aliasing here. Okay, maybe we can use over the surface another component, another diffuse component. Where is it? Here, diffuse, but with a black map. And over this component, let's use a mask, which will be a depth mask here. And let's change a little bit the depth mask here. To adjust the depth mask, usually I just put the size to 0 and change the center. And at some point, we should see something happening. And put this function in this clamp mode, because we want the function that is driving this depth mask to be bounded into two values, these two values here, and not to be repeated. Okay, and let's change a little bit the begin and the end. Okay, just to make a small fade like that. Okay, so there you have it, and you have your system to do what you want. And I did not save, so let's save and let's call it that checker balls. Okay, and for those who want, I will put a link in the description on the Smode forum page, on which you will be able to get back this composition. So I will put the link towards the work of Sean, which created this visual effect. And again, thanks to him for letting me try to reproduce his effect on Smode. Hope this have been nice for you, and see you next time.